If you know the name Philpott, you've probably had some of their delicious honey.
My name is Dale Philpott, and I've been was born in Rosebery because there was no hospital in Brooks at that time. My grandfather came over from England in about 1913, somewhere right in that area, and he came over just to visit his brother, which had come over on the same ship as the Duke of Sutherland, and he just got off of the Boer War. Then had a look around, from what I understand, liked it over here, went back over to England, and then the World War broke out, so somewhere in there he listed back over there, and then come back here about 17 or 18, come back with a bride.
Settlers came to the West in hopes of finding new opportunity, and the Philpotts were no exception.
Both him and his brother were quite the handyman. My grandfather, for years, was the janitor at the Brook School. His brother was working for the Duke of Sutherland, and it just was job opportunity over here compared to England.
Although both Harry and William had odd jobs in Brooks's early history, they truly found their calling in the beekeeping industry.
He started working, him and another fellow, started working for a fellow that I kind of think was probably one of the first beekeepers to ever come into Canada from the United States. He was migratory, and his name was Elmer Morgan. They started with Elmer Morgan and being his men to run the operation here in Canada after he brought bees up here. So they started up there, but my grandfather always, from that, he had a few hives all the time. Everybody at one time during the war season all had a few hives. Everybody had it. And then as time went on, you either were out of it or you got bigger in it.
And the Philpotts made quite the name for themselves with their honey production. As the years went on, they continued to buy out hives to expand their business.
From 46 to 56, they bought out 12 other people in the EID that had a few hives. So you go back further, everybody had it for the war. You see, they all had a few hives. Someone had 70 hives, some had 10 hives, and then after that, I bought out a couple, one from Delia and another beekeeper from Boylan, Rainier District. And we took our numbers up to about 3,000 beehives. Then my father, in 1940, 41, when the Second World War started, he enlisted in Calgary. And when they found out he was a beekeeper's son, that was his job. He was told he had to do that. So he got into it, and of course, my excuse is that I decided that I had enough of school, and my dad said, if you think you're just going to lay around, you're crazy, you start work tomorrow morning. And I've been there ever since.
To make honey, a bee takes nectar from a flower and stores it in its honey sac. When full, the bee will return to the hive to deposit the nectar into a honeycomb. The bee continues working on the honeycomb by fanning its wings to evaporate the water from the nectar. Once the comb is aged, wax is used to seal it and keep it clean and safe. Seems easy enough, right? That said, you can't give the bees all the credit.
Well, you have to have a healthy beehive to start with. So when we were buying packages out of California a few years back, we would buy 2 pounds of bees that have 1 queen in it, and we put it in a hive, and we would feed it, and we'd grow those 2 pounds, and which would be about 8,000 bees. We would try to grow it to 60,000 bees by the 1st of July. Doing that, we had to make sure that they had enough food in their hives to live on, because there is no flowers early. The first crop of the year is dandelions, and we love the dandelions because at that time we could stop feeding bees and let them produce some honey that'll hold them until the first crop blooms, like alfalfa. So if we can keep the hive healthy, not sick, clean hives, just like you clean your house all the time, and weather. Weather is a big factor in those days. Get that population up to 60,000, then we're good. When you get 60,000 bees a hive, they will gather up to, not in southern Alberta, but in some places in northern Alberta, they would have gathered up to 300 pounds of honey for the year, and down here in the southern Alberta it used to be like about 150 pounds average over the years. And so what we would do is that we would steal that away from them, fill it in 45-gallon drums, and then we sell the drums. It's virtually we do nothing to it but spin it out of the beehives. We don't put any heat to it. We just spin it out of the hive, put it in the drum, and new drums all the time, and send it worldwide.
And as you can imagine, being a third-generation bee farmer, Dale has seen many changes over the years.
The biggest changes in the bee industry have been 2 or 3 diseases that have come along. Was what we call some foul broods, and that was the larvae of the bees that would die before they were born. At one time, the only remedy was to burn it. Now there's drugs to fight with it. The other thing is the biggest difference is farming practices. The flowers used to bloom much longer. The farmers in the area took off 1 crop of alfalfa a year, whereas now they're taking off up to 3 crops a year. So there's a very short period of time that the bees can get at the flowers. There's other crops coming in now with the canola, but those are probably the 2 basic plants that we have that we make honey off of in southern Alberta here.
The Philpotts still produce honey today on the Duchess Highway.
My boys and my 2 sons and my son-in-law, they now represent the 4th generation in it. I being the 3rd, and it's Alan and Diane and my son-in-law, Colin McKeag. So.
The honey hut, which is now sitting at the museum, was donated in 1994 by Dale's family in memory of Dale's first wife, Evelyn. Evelyn spent many summer days on the Duchess Highway selling honey in the hut, and today it stands as an exhibit to the early days of southern Alberta's honey production.